Why is it that so few people are able to escape the 9 to 5 while the rest of us are sucked in the system and we're trapped every single day doing the same thing week after week, month after month, year after year? And it seems that, it might look on the outside like other people got lucky, or maybe they got in the time, maybe if they're an investor, they got in the stock market at a good time, and it's just a bull pump or whatever, and they were able to cash out. Or maybe like right now, or since YouTube and social media and Instagram and all these platforms came online, right? If you were early to the game, it might have been easier to grow your channel, right? Because there's less people posting, less competition, less scattered viewers across those platforms, right? So it would have been easier, right, had you started posting on Instagram or YouTube or whatever social media platform you choose to post content on. So while it may seem these people got lucky, it may seem that there's they're able to figure it out, and it might seem to you like, damn, like it just seems impossible, or it seems like it's such a uphill battle. There's certain things that I think a lot of people who have escaped the 9 to 5 have in common. Number one is an insane ability to endure hard work and fatigue and stress and boredom, right? Like if you're able to endure long hours, if you're able to endure boredom, if you're able to endure just having to grit your teeth and do what you need to do regardless of what's going on in your life, then that is a character trait that can pretty much distinguish you from everyone else who's stuck in the rat race. Because if you're able to come home after a long day, after doing a job that's maybe boring or monotonous and just kind of laborious, right, in a sense, it's just mundane, and you're able to come home and somehow generate the energy and the drive and the motivation to work on whatever thing you're pursuing, and whatever stream of income you're working on creating that's going to help you replace your 9 to 5, then that's obviously number one. Because if you're not able to I wouldn't even say time manage, because obviously we can time manage, but if you're not able to muster up the energy, right? Because I think that's what obviously motivation and like having a vision helps, right? Or like having a vision and a want and being able to see it through helps. But everyone gets to a point where they're tired, where they're or they just don't feel like doing what they need to do. But the people who actually are able to escape and who are able to consistently generate income on their own, I think those people are the ones who are like they're just more stoic, and they're able to kind of just grit their teeth and do what they need to do regardless of whatever emotion or pain or frustration they're dealing with, right? So that's number one. And this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. And as far as energy goes, right, like I think I could argue, and I think a lot of you guys would agree, that the most common thing that would probably kill people's drive after they come home from work is just them being tired, right? Like maybe you don't get a lot of sleep, or maybe whatever, you just have other things, other obligations, and you just kind of put off working on your side hustle or thing that is going to help you replace your 9 to 5. So generating the energy and mustering up enough, I wouldn't even call it willpower, just like getting yourself to that point where you can sit down and focus on whatever you're doing and endure the process of doing it, right? That is what most people can't do, right? Because here's the thing. Most people get home, I've talked about this many times, but most people, they stop at their local store or gas station or whatever, and they grab beer, they grab cigarettes, they grab a vape, or junk food and whatever, and they just sedate themselves the rest of the afternoon and into the evening until they go to bed, wake up, and then repeat the process all over again. So I think it's more so we're doing mostly most people are just doing things that are like shutting off the bulb. Like they're just doing things that are dimming the lights, right? That are stimming their shine, and then that's by default putting them in a state where they're unable to even do anything, right? Because if you're too high, if you're too drunk, if you're too or you're just, again, too tired from whatever, overeating, or, you know, watching pornography, or doing things that are just taking energy away from you, then of course you're not gonna feel like doing what you need to do, right? But again, if you're not doing drugs, if you're not you know, watching pornography or doing things that are killing your testosterone, that are sapping your dopamine, that are frying your brain, right, then you'll figure out ways to generate income, or you'll figure out ways to get you the thing you need to get done, so that you can start to progress and build up some momentum to start to generate income, so that eventually you can replace your 9-to-5 income. So I think it starts there, as far as like the foundation for like you just managing your time and managing how you get the thing you need to get done. So don't overlook, you know, energy, right? Because oftentimes that's the biggest hurdle when it comes to people being able to come home and figure out how they're going to get their work done. And unfortunately speaking, right, like most of us work jobs where you know, we can't work on our job. Like you can't, for the most part, unless, you know, I mean, you're not working with a boss, or you have a lot of downtime where you can kind of just go out and do your own thing. Most of us at work, you know, we're pretty preoccupied. Maybe we have a manager around us, or, you know, we're in a specific environment where we're just, the demand for our job is too much, and we can't, you know, take time out to focus on what we're doing. So the hours that you utilize when you get home are pretty much the only thing you have outside of your days off. But let's face it, it's really hard to, I would say it's really hard to build momentum if you're only able to work 2 days out of the week, right? Because, you know, you work 2 days of the week, but the other 5 days, it's like, what are you doing, right? And then you have to generate the motivation again to get going. So I think it's better, obviously more difficult and easier said than done, but I think it's better that you're consistent throughout, even if you're working on your days off and working in your evenings, right? That's kind of how it has to be. And most people are not willing to do that, right? That's why you see so many people still stuck, still doing the same thing year after year, still hanging around the same people, still watching the same shows, and still just living the same life, maybe still complaining, still frustrated, still, you know, not in the ideal situation that they'd like to be in. And unfortunately, like, obviously it takes time, so you can't, you know, just disregard the fact that things take time. But you also have to consider that, you know, most people are just going home and they're not doing anything productive with the, you know, handful of hours that they have at the end of the day. Like, you know, the hours that you have when you get home are huge, guys. Like, if you're not able to utilize 4 to 9 or 5 to 9 or whatever you have, like, you don't have a shot at financial freedom, right? Obviously you can go the investment route and do it that way, right? But, you know, whether it's a second job or whether it's you building up another stream of income that you're generating on your own, like, you have to utilize the time that you're given, right? Like, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? And it's funny, you know, I had someone comment on my video 2 days ago saying, you know, that I just sounded like superficial by saying, or I sounded like harsh by saying that, you know, poor people have the mindset of a child, and that, you know, basically like it's, you know, he was basically saying like people's income is their problem. But I was trying to, you know, say that, you know, the income that you make, right, whether it's from your first job or a combination of other incomes, right? Most people, they work one job and that's their income, right? But it's your choice if you want to stay at that level, right? So yeah, obviously working 60 hours, 70 hours a week sucks. But what sucks more? Working those 40 hours, making $13, $14 an hour, or being able to generate income online, whether it's whatever you're doing, or a second job or something that's adding more income to your life, so that you're able to do what? Invest, so that you can attain financial freedom a lot quicker than pretty much almost everybody. I don't think I would argue most people don't even achieve financial freedom till retirement, right? There's a select few of people that I would say achieve, and when I say achieve financial freedom, I mean like fully. I mean like to the point where you could live off whatever income you're generating, whether it's online or through your investments, to where you really don't have to clock in ever again. If you don't want to, obviously, of course. So I would say that, most people don't even attain that till they're 65, right? And, Social Security and a 401k, or maybe they have a pension. But for the most part, this is if you want, and it really comes down to living in a first world country, right? Because we have so much production and things that, we have to maintain and sustain to maintain the life that we all live. So that's why I think, there's so much demand here in the United States for work. But also, you can make the argument that places don't pay enough and this and that. But what I always say is, you need to operate not out of the should or would or could, but what is, right? Because if we operate in the ideal, in the sense that things should be this way, or things could be this way, or things would have been this way, right? All of that is taking away from the reality of what is, right? And the reality of what is this is what certain jobs pay, right? And you can either choose to work a little bit more, right, in your off hours and, get ahead that way. You can work up the ranks in your primary job or, primary source of income, do it that way. Or you can go get a skill that's in high demand and do it that way and make more money that way. But the idea that, things should be a certain way, right? Like, cause he was trying to say also that like certain places in Europe, right, it's illegal to work over 40 or 48 hours or something like that. I forget where, but this is America, right? And most of you guys live in a first world country. Most of you guys live in America. So I'm obviously referring to people who live here for the most part. Obviously, if you live in Europe, that's cool. You can still figure things out as well, by adopting this sort of way of going about things. But guys, the main point, the big picture here is like, you really have to dial down on the time that you have, because that's your lifeblood, and that's what's going to be the catalyst and the bridge towards where you are now to where you want to be in a few years, right? Whether it's completely financially free or just in a position to where, maybe again, you can scale back on your second job, or you can scale back on the thing that's, you're doing now that's kind of hard and laborious and tiresome, right? So again, nothing lasts forever, right? Like, you're not going to be hustling and doing this forever, but you need to dedicate a time to do this, right? So anyways, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.